Hey everybody, it's Brad with this month's Floriani Club video. Today we're going to be working with Applique. Let me show you what we're going to be making. This is what our finished product is going to look like. If you're here in class, you'll see pretty much what this looks like because I'm going to have it sewn out for everybody to look at. But this is what we're doing. We're making an applique of the Ravens logo. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And we're going to open up our Floriani program. At the My Floriani Today screen, you can download this month's designs. And if you don't know how to do that, just refer back to the last video that I made on doing that. And if you can't find your CD, I uploaded all this stuff to my YouTube channel. So you should be able to go and watch all the old videos. Anyway, at the My Floriani Today thing, we're going to choose Create a New Design. So left click on Create a New Design. Very good. And now what we're going to do is work from a backdrop this time, and we're going to be making an applique that also has some filled in areas for embroidery. So I'm going to do the Ravens logo. If you're not a Ravens fan, sorry, I'm not either, but I know the majority of you are. So to use your backdrop tool, what the backdrop tool is it brings up an image on the background that we can trace. And one of the places you can find it is this little picture of a little mountain scene here, and if you hover your mouse over it, it says backdrop tool. We're going to left click on that. I have the image that we're using in my digitizing images folder. Yours will be on the CD that you have, or if you're watching this from online, you can just download any image of the Ravens logo from the internet is fine. So I'm going to grab this logo and choose open. Okay, so here's my logo. And what I want to do is first look at the size of it. If I look at my properties to see that this is 20 inches wide, and that's too big. I want it to be big, but I don't have a machine that could sew out 20 inches. So assuming I'm going to sew this out on a Lissimo, I'm going to go ahead and make this 11 inches wide, which will fit nicely in the hoop. And so I just type in the number 11 here where it says width in inches and click apply. Incidentally, if you don't have your property set in inches, you can change that just by right-clicking anywhere on this ruler here and switch it to metric, from metric to inches. So now we have resized our design down to a more reasonable size. This is still enormous. 11 inches is pretty big for an embroidery design, and that's one of the reasons I want to do this as an applique instead of as a big filled-in design. If this was all stitches, this whole design that's 11 inches wide, it would take forever to sew it out. It would be bulletproof. It would be really dense, so we don't want that. And doing this gives us a good exercise for working with different types of artwork shapes and the things you can do with stuff while it still outlines and isn't embroidery yet. So we're just going to get started. Now the first thing I want to do is zoom in as much as I can on this and still be able to see the whole thing. And the way you do that is go up to your little percentage zoom thing up here, click on the arrow next to it, and choose to fit. Or actually, no, sorry, to selection. Boom. Okay, now I can see my whole Ravens logo. Now I'm going to go up and click on my select tool so that my backdrop tool is no longer on. Now see, I can't click, I can't select this image, I can't move it around. So that kind of is, it's like a feature, like I can't accidentally select my background when I'm using a backdrop, which is nice. Okay, so I'm going to do this kind of in layers. So the first layer of fabric is going to be this kind of gold color here. And so we want to have an applique to hold down this color here. So this is going to be gold fabric that we use. That's going to be this whole back of the thing. So how do we do that? We need to trace it, and while we could go in and manually trace the outline of this design like this, that would take a while, and this design, this image that I have is high enough quality that the automatic tracer, or the magic wand, is going to do a good job of tracing it. So first I need to choose my artwork button here so that it knows that it needs to be just drawing in lines and not creating any stitches. And then I choose my magic wand. It won't let you choose magic wand unless you already have some kind of thing selected over here. So when I selected that, it made it so I could click on this, so I left click on magic wand. So I've got artwork and magic wand. So my cursor turns into a little magic wand, and I'm going to simply left click anywhere in this gold area here, one time. Your computer will think about it, and now I've got an outline going all the way around here. I'm just going to use my select tool. I'm just going to drag this out a little bit so you can see what's been created. So this has created this whole outline here. Now I could make this an applique the way that it is and then only have this strip of fabric, but that's not how I want to do this today. What I want to do is have gold under this whole thing. So I've got this fabric is going to be one piece of fabric on here, not just this strip. And so the way I can get rid of the fact that it's just a strip is I need to break this outline apart into its two pieces. So there's this line and this line in this outline. I'll drag it out so we can see this line and this line are actually two separate lines. And the way we break them apart is you have to have your select tool selected here and make sure that you move your mouse right over one of the lines to see how it turns into a hand when I do that. When it's a hand, I right click and choose break apart. Now by default it's going to select the inner line automatically after I break it apart, which is convenient because we want to delete that line, so press the delete button on your keyboard and we're left with just this outer outline here, and that's perfect. So once I've got my outer outline broken apart and the inner part deleted, I need to turn this into an applique, and that's very easy. Again, you're going to move your mouse over the line. When it turns into a hand, you're ready. Right click, choose convert to, and you're going to pick applique. So we're going to left click on applique. The computer will again think about it for a minute, and there is my applique. So it comes up, the default is blue, and I don't want it to be blue, I want it to be gold. I happen to already have kind of a goldish color in my color palette down here near the bottom, so I'm going to right click on that, turns it gold, cool. The only thing is this applique stitch is a little bit wide, the default is a little bit wide, so I'm going to change that. I found that 2mm worked okay for me when I sewed it out, so I'm going to choose 2. And we're going to leave all the other settings alone up here in the properties. I'm going to leave the type on satin, and just change the width to 2 and leave everything else alone and hit apply. Okay, we see that that has now narrowed my satin stitch on my applique here. Very good. Okay, so next step, we're going to have a black piece of fabric laying down here underneath everything. So we want to have this part traced, and again we're going to do the same thing where we're going to get rid of the inner line that's created when we trace this. So we go back up here to artwork, left click, my magic wand is still selected. Okay, see my cursor is a magic wand, and I touch anywhere in the black this time and just left click. Okay, and it has now traced this entire thing and the inner part. So I go back to my select tool, move over one of my lines. When the cursor is a hand, you right click and choose break apart. Now this actually had two separate things that it traced. It traced around this and in here. So the first one is currently selected and it was by default. I'm going to hit the delete button and then the delete button again to get rid of this part that's going around the purple. And now I'm left with just the part that's going around the outside of the black, which is exactly what I wanted. So now again we need to, well, you know what, let's change this thing's color first. So we don't have a black on our color palette down here. So if we right click, oops, oh, it's not, I'm holding down the right mouse button and then go up here to add color. I think my computer is doing that because I'm recording video and it's messing it up. I think you can just left click on one of those and it'll do that. But the way it worked on mine was I held down right mouse button and then click add color. But anyway, so now we click on this new color and we're going to choose black. So okay, and with this guy selected, we right click on it to make it black, and now we're going to convert it to, and to convert it we make sure it's selected, right click on the line when the cursor is a hand, convert to applique. Okay, so now we got our black applique down, and our width, we need to set our applique width again to 2. Good, okay, so now I'm going to make this 3D so we can see it a little better. Yeah, you still really can't see the black, but Anyway, so we've got our yellow, our black. Now you would think that we would want our purple next, but in fact I'm going to do this white area here because I want this to lay under this when I end up going to sew it out. And this part, the white part of the beak, I'm actually going to sew this as a fill stitch. So we're not turning this one into an applique. This is going to be a white fill stitch that lays onto my black fabric. Okay, and so the way we do that, we're going to go up here and select complex fill this time instead of selecting artwork. So complex fill, left click on it. Okay, and then go into this area here and left click one time, and it traces it automatically. And to turn it into stitches, all I have to do is click on my select tool up here, and it has turned it into stitches. Now, of course, it went and made it blue. It's the default color, and we are going to change that. So let's just go down to blue and left click on it and change the blue in my palette to white. And these is white. There we go, 800. Click OK. Alright, so now I've got my white fill in here. And when this is put down, it's going to be slightly on top of that, giving it a little bit of a layered look. We can't do the B because the B is going to be on top of the purple. What we can do, though, is this eye. And since we've got white right now, we may as well do the white part in the eye next. And again, I'm going to do that as a complex fill. So left click on complex fill. You should already have your magic wand selected. And go ahead and left click on the white part of the eye, and hit the select tool to generate the stitches. There we go. We've got this little crescent shape, and now we need to do the red parts too while we're at it. So we're going to go back up to complex fill and left click on the left part of the red and then choose select. But look, it has turned it white. That's okay. We've got red right here on number 2. We're going to right click on that, turns that into red, and we're going to do the same thing. Complex fill, left click on the inner part on the right hand side, left click on select to generate it, turn it into number 2 for red down here at the bottom. Okay, so now I've got the eye done, I've got the beak done. Now we need to do this purple part in here, and here's where we need to do a little bit of editing to make our line perfect. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Go back up to artwork. Again, your magic wand should still be selected. And then we're going to left click on the purple part in here. Left click one time. And okay, so what this has now done, it's hard to see. I'm going to put it on the reform here so we can actually see all the points. That's your third tool down. They call it shape in this program. Alright, whatever. So the third tool down on the left hand side is shape, and what this does is shows me all the points that make up the line that I have selected. And so what it's done is that this isn't actually closed here, and it has cut out the entirety of the B, and that's not what I want to do. I want to have just like one simple piece of fabric, not have to cut all up in here. So what we can do is actually split this line that's created, and the way you do it is you move your mouse to the corner where you want the line to be split, and if you don't understand what I mean by split the line, you'll see in a second here. So we go to the corner here, right click, and then on this drop down menu choose split line. Now you're not going to see any of this if you don't have the shape tool selected, so just make sure that you have the shape tool selected before you start this. And then so we want to split right here, and I also want to split right here, so I'm going to right click, choose split line, and look what it's done. It has actually split this part of my line away from the rest of it, which is perfect because I want to just get rid of that. It's gone. But now this part isn't closed. So if I look at it, I can see that this is not closed, right? But that's easily remedied. There's two ways to do this. I could right click on it and choose close line, and it'll just put a line between there. Or undo. I could go in and use my artwork tool, turn off my magic wand, and I can actually draw in the rest of the line by left clicking, and then I right click when I'm done, and then I want to hold down control and select the rest of the line, right click and choose combine, and then that makes it one line. Just that way I have a little more control over how this part of the line looks. It's up to you however you want to do that. So now we need this to be a purple applique. So I've got a purple-ish right here already, so I'm just going to use that. Right click on the color that you want, and then right click on the line, choose convert to applique, and again change your applique width to 2 millimeters. Good. Okay, so I've got my applique line now for my purple. Good. So I'm going to have gold fabric, black fabric, and purple fabric all layered on top of one another, and none of this is going to be stitches on the inside here. So you save a lot of time not having to sew out all this whole area, and you save thread too. Plus, if you sew it out on something, you're a lot less likely to have puckering happen because there's not as many stitches. Okay, so now we're going to continue on. I want this B to be stitches as well, so this is going to be the last thing that we make here is the B. We go in and choose the complex fill again, and make sure your magic wand is selected. We are going to first do the inner part, which is this gold color. Left click on that. Hit left click on select tool up here in the corner. It makes it white. We want it to be yellow. So I'm going to go down here, back up to my complex fill. This time I'll choose yellow first, so I don't have to do that. So here on 5, I right click on that. This time when I select, it automatically makes it the color that I want it to be. I never do it in the right order. You can do it however you want, really. So now we need the white for the border, and we simply go back up to complex fill. We're going to right click on number 1, which on mine is white. You just choose whichever one is white on yours. Left click on the outline and choose the select tool. Do the same thing. We go back up complex fill and hit this inner part of the line that didn't get caught. And that is it. Now we're done. So what's going to happen when you sew this out? Let's see, where's the slow redraw button? Here we go. First, let me go ahead and get rid of this backdrop, and I'm going to hide my backdrop by left clicking on the backdrop, and then in properties I'm going to move it all the way over here to lighter, and it will disappear. Okay, so now we can just see the stitching. So here's what we're going to do. Put on slow redraw, and I'm going to let you watch this. Alright, so first it's going to make a running stitch. Okay, and after the first running stitch we're going to put down our gold fabric. And then then it'll stop. We put down, we are now going to cut, because this running stitch is just run down and tack down our gold fabric to our whatever we're embroidering on, and then we cut the gold fabric away with applique scissors. Okay, we cut it, and then it goes and finishes the edge. Now if you find that you're not cutting it accurately enough and you're seeing tails of the embroidery, you can increase the width of this stitch. It's just the narrower it is, the better, because we're going to have not a whole heck of a lot of space between these areas. So you want to be able to actually see your fabric. But anyway, so now it's going to put down a black placement stitch. I place my black fabric down. Oop, I went too far. Then it tacks it down. We cut it out. It finishes it. Now on top of the black fabric, it's going to go put the beak and the eye, and then I've got my purple fabric placement line, tack down line, and finishing stitch, and then it sews out the bee on top of that. This worked out really well when I sewed it out. I was very, very pleased with the results. I think it would look really nice on a sweatshirt or on a pillow or something. It's not too dense, it's not too heavy. And what I did was I used felt for my first layer. And the one that I sewed out, I used a different image. It actually had a white outline around this. But I used white felt as my background, and it really gave the whole thing a nice kind of dimensionality to it. So you might want to think of using polar fleece or something that's got some puff to it. Really makes the applique kind of pop, I think. Anyway, once you're done, we're going to save this. So I'm going to go to File, Save to Sew. Now, I didn't know what kind of fabric I was going to sew it out on, so what I chose was pique knit. I personally find that pique knit really works for most things as the settings. So I chose pique knit and magic wand because I use the magic wand to digitize this. Open, close, and heavy are the only options I have for this. Well, heavy and medium, but well, heavy. We'll leave it heavy and open close. Are you going to hit the fabric? Yes. Hit next, and then leave all these checked and hit apply. Say yes. It does its magic stuff that it does, and we hit next. You can read about how it recommends we sew it out. Hit finish, and now we're going to go ahead and save this as a, well, first we'll save it as a Floriani file, and then you want to save it as a PES file. I'm just going to go ahead and save it as a PES file because I'm naughty. So Ravens Applique, and I'll include this file that I just created right now, so that you can kind of check yourself against how I did it. It's saving. So anyway, that's it. I'm gonna have the sample for you tomorrow, and we're gonna do this together in class, and then if you have any questions about anything, you can ask me then. So enjoy. Hope you like the class.